Hollywood has always been a place where dreams are manufactured, where love stories are written into scripts and sold as fairy tales. But sometimes, the romance audiences see on screen isn't entirely fiction. Behind the bright lights, cameras, and carefully staged interviews, reality can be far more complicated. Few examples prove this better than the long, tangled history between Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. To the public, they were simply co-stars who delivered two of the most beloved romantic comedies of the modern era, Pretty Woman and Runaway Bride. But to those who looked closer, there were whispers of something more, a connection that went far beyond the screen, a love that was passionate, scandalous, and ultimately destructive. The story began in 1989. Julia Roberts was only 22 years old, an aspiring actress with little experience and even less confidence. She had scored some smaller roles, but she was far from a household name. Richard Gere, on the other hand, was 40 years old and firmly established as a Hollywood leading man. Known for films like American Gigolo and An Officer and a Gentleman, Gere carried himself with the quiet confidence of a star who belonged in the spotlight. When Roberts was asked to audition for a small film, then titled 3000, later renamed Pretty Woman, she had no idea her entire life was about to change. The audition paired her directly with Gere. She was nervous, nearly overwhelmed. But something unexpected happened. Director Gary Marshall watched as sparks flew instantly between the two actors. Their chemistry wasn't forced. It wasn't scripted. It was real. That chemistry didn't just win Roberts the role. It created one of the most iconic on-screen pairings in Hollywood history. When Pretty Woman premiered in March of 1990, the world fell in love with the story of a millionaire businessman and a free-spirited woman from the wrong side of town. The film shattered expectations, earning over $400 million worldwide and cementing Julia Roberts as America's new sweetheart. Richard Gere, already famous, was catapulted back to the top of the industry. On red carpets, in interviews, and at premieres, the two stood side by side, smiling and waving as if they had walked out of a fairy tale. Fans and reporters alike asked the same question: were Julia Roberts and Richard Gere just co-stars, or were they something more? Their denials were polite, even playful, but the glances between them told a different story. What few knew was that behind closed doors, the chemistry audiences adored on screen had spilled into real life. The two stars had begun a secret romance, hidden from the press but impossible to ignore for those who were close to them. For Roberts, barely into her 20s, it was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. For Gere, it was a complicated entanglement that would define his reputation for years to come. By 1991, the pressures of fame and secrecy were catching up. Roberts was engaged to actor Kiefer Sutherland in what the media billed as the wedding of the year. The dress was ready, the guests were invited, the church was booked. But only 3 days before the ceremony, Julia walked away. The world was stunned. Headlines branded her a coward, a runaway bride. Paparazzi hounded her, critics mocked her, and her reputation teetered on the edge of collapse. But there was one person who didn't abandon her during those chaotic days: Richard Gere. As the world pointed fingers, Gere quietly comforted her. Away from the cameras, he told her she hadn't run away from love, but toward the truth. For Julia, those words deepened the connection she already felt. Their secret relationship burned hotter, even as the outside world demanded answers. That same year, however, Gere shocked Hollywood by marrying supermodel Cindy Crawford. The match was glamorous, perfect for magazine covers, and quickly became one of the most photographed relationships of the decade. Julia, left shattered, tried to move forward as well. In 1993, she married country singer Lyle Lovett after only a few weeks of knowing him. The press spun it as a whirlwind romance, but those close to her knew it was an escape, an attempt to bury the past with Gere and silence the whispers that followed her everywhere. but secrets have a way of coming to light. That same year, blurry paparazzi photos began circulating, showing two figures sneaking into a hotel. The faces were unclear, but the red hair was unmistakable. The tabloids pounced, claiming Julia Roberts and Richard Gere had been caught in a secret meeting. Hollywood erupted. Cindy Crawford was humiliated. Lovett was blindsided. And Roberts, once America's sweetheart, was painted as a villain, the woman who had betrayed everyone. Publicly, Gere remained silent. Privately, their affair was undeniable. Julia struggled under the weight of scandal, while Gere retreated into quiet denial. The love that had once felt thrilling now became a burden, destroying reputations and reputing careers. Roberts's marriage to Lyle Lovett collapsed within 2 years. Gere's marriage to Crawford soon followed. Both stars were left scarred, with Hollywood gossip columns branding them reckless and unfaithful. By the late 1990s, their paths had diverged. Roberts tried to rebuild her reputation with serious roles, culminating in her Oscar-winning performance in Erin Brockovich. Gere focused on select projects, choosing roles that gave him critical acclaim rather than box office glory. But fate wasn't finished with them. In 1999, Gary Marshall brought the two back together for Runaway Bride. On screen, the chemistry was undeniable, just as powerful as it had been a decade earlier. Audiences flocked to the theaters, and the film earned over $300 million worldwide. To fans, it was the perfect reunion, the rekindling of Hollywood's favorite fairy tale couple. Behind the curtain, however, history repeated itself. The passion that had once burned in secret came rushing back. Cast and crew whispered about the tension on set, the stolen glances, the arguments that somehow made them even closer. When the cameras captured their wedding scene, the emotion between them was so raw that many suspected it wasn't acting at all. Yet just like before, it couldn't last. Roberts longed for stability and found it with cameraman Danny Motter, whom she married in 2002. She built a family, raising 3 children and carving out a quieter life outside of Hollywood's glare. Gere, meanwhile, pursued his own path. After his high-profile marriages ended, he surprised the world again in 2018 by marrying Spanish activist Alejandra Silva, a woman more than 3 decades younger. Today, in his 70s, Gere has embraced fatherhood once more, walking away from the spotlight that once defined him. And yet the story of Roberts and Gere lingers. For fans of Pretty Woman and Runaway Bride, the question has never truly gone away. Was their chemistry just the work of brilliant acting, or was it something deeper, something real that Hollywood never dared to show the world? The truth lies somewhere in between. Their affair was real. Their passion was undeniable, but it was also destructive, leaving scars that both stars carried long after the cameras stopped rolling. To this day, their names are linked not just by box office success, but by the whispers of a romance too volatile to survive in the spotlight. So perhaps the real question isn't whether Julia Roberts and Richard Gere were truly in love, but whether love itself can endure in a place like Hollywood. Can passion survive fame, scandal, and betrayal? Or are some romances destined to burn brightly in the dark, leaving nothing but rumors and regret? Tell us what you think in the comments. Was it love or just the illusion of cinema? And if you want more untold stories of Hollywood's golden age, scandals, secrets, and romances that changed the industry forever, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. The next story may be even more shocking than this one.